Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be reviewing the new QX60. They've changed the powertrain with it. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Dowling Infiniti here in Murray for giving me some time with this QX60. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 22 around town and then 27 on the highway, with power outputs being 268 horsepower and then 286 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you're going to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see pretty smooth with the overall design. You do have a couple lines on either side that break things up a little bit. Really sharp looking headlight design too. I like the darker trim down below. So the grille's blacked out, but then you've got chrome trim around it. And, well, that's all for the front. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 255 by 50 by 20 in the front and over in the rear. And you can see here with the wheels, you've got the silver with the metallic gray. And then I love the fender flares. Those pop out a little bit, and then you can see the rest of the trim alongside with the chrome trim as well. And if we take a few steps back, notice it's got that two-tone paint job with the roof being blacked out and then the bottom section being white. Now this leads us to the key fob. If it'll focus, there we go. We got a lock and unlock function, remote start opening for the hatch, Infiniti logo there on the back. So yeah, this is the new fob and it's pretty cool looking. Now popping into the rear, we do have the third row folded down, so it's going to increase the amount of space that you guys see here. But if I just pull this strap, boom, pretty easy to get the third row up, but you can see the space then behind that, pretty typical of an SUV in this particular segment. And then for the second row, we actually have these switches to throw them down, which is a nice feature. Add some convenience to all of it. But yeah, that's everything for the rear. So when you're all done, just press this. That will lower the hatch right back down. Here's a quick look at the taillights. You can see the Infiniti logo there as well. QX60 down below. You see the parking sensors there that go across, and that's all for the back. Now taking a look at the door panel on the rear, we've got a sunshade here for the rear passengers. Nice trim all across. This is cool with the handle. See a speaker for the sound system. And then here are the seats in the second row. Pretty fancy stitching and all that. Popping in legroom back here. It's good. Got a little storage pocket there. We've got our own climate zone here with heated seats. Got some little charging ports down below. You have a little center console here in the second row too, which is nice. Armrests, it's always a good feature to have. And the sunroof does bring the roof line down a little bit, but headroom's pretty good overall. Now as for the third row, you guys can see the seat up right there that I put. Legroom is going to be a little bit on the tighter side of things. Again, pretty typical of an SUV in this segment. And then headroom, they actually have a little spot that kind of goes up there in the back, so that helps out a bit. But yeah, I would reserve that for kids. Now here's a quick look at the front door panel. You can see again with the two-tone coloration here. All of our window controls, the mirror adjustments. Mirrors do power fold in. No speaker here for the sound system. And then blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. We also have our memory seat functionality. Infiniti down below, which is always fun. And then here's the front seat. Again, nice trim all down the center. All of our power adjustments there on the side. And we also have massage function, which is pretty cool to have. And I like this trim on the dash. I think that's nice. So here's a quick look at the steering wheel. You can see you've got soft touch all around. You've got the stitching there in the center. Paddle shifters here on the back. Bunch of practical controls here on the front, including our adaptive cruise control, volume controls, all the normal stuff there, and then they still use traditional stocks here on the back. Here's the center gauge cluster. We can use this to scroll through and see different bits of information, different items within the car, which is always a nice feature. And then the drive mode doesn't really change too much. It just will pop up here in the center depending on which one you select. 360 camera system here. Trajectory lines turn with the steering wheel. Pretty solid resolution. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system itself, notice that response time is actually pretty solid. It's easy enough to use. with the touchscreen response. There's also a dial to control items as well. I'll show that in a little bit, but that's all she wrote. So it's not going to pop up very well, but there is a heads-up display. Got a nice trim all across the dash. Cool stitching there. And it's cool how the trim kind of comes across to the vents. Like, look at that. It's fun. We've got our climate controls down below. So dual zone climate, heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. You got analog radio control there as well. Shifter here for the 9-speed. Got your drive mode select. We've got the auto stop start if you can turn that on or off. Cup holders over here off to the side. And then you can see we've got the practical controls. So for the infotainment system, all the shortcuts basically, and then your parking brake and then your auto hold. Just a quick look at the center console. Nice trim here on the top. You can see the stitching that goes all the way across. And then there's soft touch in the glove box. Nicely lined with felt too. Camera rear view mirror. And then we do have a panoramic center. Here's a quick look at the window sticker for the QX60. Not pretty much, but a lot of things are standard equipment. There are a few options. $70,925 is the total MSRP. So they changed the engine, but they didn't change the pricing really. So let's see how it performs. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. So the hood, heads-up display, both the mirrors do a blind spot monitoring. There's the rest of the rear. And let's see how this new turbo engine performs. I've driven this before, right, in the 50 and the 55, but they don't have the 9-speed. I wonder if they will get the 9-speed though, now that this has it. Time will tell. And then I also wonder if we're gonna get a high performance version of the QX60, because this does have less horsepower and torque. Well, let's see, torque, no, it has more torque, because 295, 267, so sorry, less horsepower but more torque. So I don't know, maybe they'll do a high performance version, we'll see. I did love the V6 quite a bit. It's such a silky smooth engine. Great power too, but our EPA lords won't let us have big engines anymore. Everything's got to go turbo, everything's got to go small. It's just the way things are heading. Yeah, so being a 2-liter 4-cylinder, there is a bit of turbo lag. You don't get that same immediate response that you got in the V6. Once you're in the turbos, it's great. It just takes a second for the system to spool up. And I'd say that's one of the only downsides about 4-cylinder turbos, is they're kind of peaky. Once you get up to a 6-cylinder turbo, that's where things get more linear for the most part. You know, like for example, I think it's actually a great example. I've got the Ineos Grenadier with the turbo inline 6 from BMW, and it has more power than this, but not that much more. It's got 282 horsepower and 331 pound-feet of torque. So you'd think that, well, it shouldn't feel all that much different, and it feels like a completely different drive going to 2 more cylinders inline 6. It does make a substantial difference. So just food for thought on that. But on that, it drives well. It still has the same comfortable ride and all of that the QX60 is known for. Yeah, that turbo lag, man. Okay, so we're gonna get our acceleration here. So I wouldn't say it's really any slower than the V6. This feels pretty similar. It's just a lot peakier, like I said. So it has a different feel. So to pull everything together, well, this is what happens when we give the EPA power. And you know, truth be told, some of you might agree with that and some of you might disagree, right? Everyone's on a different part of the pendulum swing. So yeah, I think that it drives well. I just think that it's got a peaky feel, and I'm not sure that's going to be for everyone. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's pretty much just as quick. Fuel economy is pretty similar. So, a little bit better, actually. So, you know, on paper, there's not really a downside at all. But let me know what you guys think about this. And let's hope that this 9-speed ends up in the 50 and the 55. I think that would be cool. Maybe they're not going to do that, but I think it'd be cool.